Hello and welcome to this Populi webinar on courses. My name is Nick Holloway. We're going to wait here just a couple more minutes to see if there's any more joining us. We've got 5 with us right now. A little bit of a slower day today because of summer, I would expect. So we will get started here in just a few minutes, just 2 or 3 minutes, and we'll start going through the courses and walking through the different pieces there. So you should be seeing on your other screen, College Management Made Simple. What I'm going to do is I'm going to log into the Populi Demo College, and we'll be walking through the courses there. We just got, it's a little messy in the Demo College, but we do have more information there. So we'll start there in just a few minutes. If you have questions, hit the Q&A button and enter those there. So again, if you have questions, please do use the Q&A, and I will answer those as they come in. Some of them I might answer in midstream. Some of them I might answer at the end if it seems like it needs to be pushed back a little bit, but I will try to get to all your questions. If you have a question I can't answer, which is very definitely possible, what I'll have you do is email that question to support by clicking help and then open a support request. So again, we'll get started here in about a minute. I'm going to go ahead and sign off the video for now, and I'll open it back up just before we get started. Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and jump into things here. So you should be seeing my screen with the Populi Demo College. The insignia is your college could be here with my name, Nick. For the login, I'll enter my password in just a second. Before I do though, if you can't see my screen, please do hit up the Q&A there and let me know that you're having problems seeing the screen. Otherwise, if I don't hear anything, I'm going to assume that everybody's able to see the screen. Now again, for those of you who may have just joined us, I think one person just joined us now. If you have questions, hit the Q&A button. Ask them there, and I might answer those in midstream as I'm working through the courses stuff. If I think it should be pushed to the end, then we'll push it to the end, but I will try to answer all your questions. And if I can't answer it, which is possible, then I would direct you to our support team, and the Populi support guys can answer that by clicking help, open a support request. So let's go ahead and jump into things. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my video so we can focus in on the screen. It also helps as we record this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to log in as a super user here initially, okay? And so I'm going to go over to my site here, and I want to enter my password. And we're going to go into a course that I've created for the demo site. This is Alfred the Great. But when you first log in as a faculty member, you're probably not going to see this many alerts. You're not going to see as much tabs here, because if you are just a faculty member, you're not going to have access to certain other things. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to this course, Alfred the Great. And before we really start digging into this course right here, okay, History 102, I want to make you aware of a couple things. What I'm going to be talking about today is all stuff that you can find by clicking help, search the knowledge base. And once you click on search the knowledge base, you're going to get back a page that looks like this. The Populi knowledge base will come up, and then if you scroll down to courses/faculty, what you'll see there is when you click on that box, a lot of FAQs, a lot of different articles about how to use the courses. And what I'm roughly going to be following is I will roughly be following this tutorial right here, getting started with your Populi courses. So if you don't get everything today, maybe you're not taking notes, that's fine, you don't have to, because a lot of what I'm talking about is, again, going to be found in the support site, in the knowledge base, and it's going to be found in the courses faculty section under getting started with your Populi courses. So when you click on that link and you get to getting started with your Populi courses, you will see the step-by-step instructions on how to set up your course and how to run those. Now, what I'm going to do next is I want to go back through that one more time, and then we'll jump into things. So again, if you want to follow that tutorial later and you want to just go through that on your own, click help, click Search the Knowledge Base. When the knowledge base comes up, you'll be on our general page here. It has Populi Knowledge Base and promoted articles. Scroll down to Courses/Faculty. Scroll down to Getting Started with Your Populi courses, and then go through these step by step. Now, your other resource here is you can also call our support team or email them. So if you want to call the support team, you can call 877-476-7854. Again, that's 877-476-7854. And then also you can click Help and then open a support request, and you can send our support team an internal email. And we do have a pretty quick turnaround time on those, so don't hesitate to use that. You're not going to be waiting to hear from us for days and days. We typically get back to you within that day, even within the hour many times. So give our guys a call. They're all located here in our offices in North Idaho. So email us via the support request or use the knowledge base. Now, let's jump into the courses themselves. Now, as I'm looking at this from the viewpoint of an administrator, my viewpoint as a faculty member will also be very similar. So if I were to log in to this course or a previous course in a previous term of the same course, what you're going to see is going to be very similar. So for example, here, I can log out as Nick Holloway, the super user. I can log in as Professor Horowitz, and I can show you that from the faculty member's point of view, that course is going to look very similar. So I'm going to go back to History 102. I'm now logged in as Professor Horowitz, and he has a very similar view here when he goes back to the course that he's actually working in. So let's see here. If we go back to that January course, what he's going to see is he's going to see all this information on the left as well. So as a faculty member or as an administrator, the view is going to be very similar. Now, the difference between the two, between what an administrator sees and a faculty sees, is really as simple as when you go to this info tab, if someone is an administrator, they can change the term, they can change any of this information, this kind of a syllabus information, bureaucratic information, administrative information. They can change all these things. They can change the meeting times. They can change max enrolled. They can change all these different things in this column. As a faculty member, though, you are only allowed to change. Let me see here. I've got some audio coming from somewhere else. I'm not sure where that's happening. Hold on a second here. All right. So as a faculty member, though, you're only allowed to change some of the things on the right. So if we go over here to the right side of the page, you'll see that you can change your supplies. So there's an edit button that pops up there. And you can change your links. You can change your reading list. You can change your files. You can also over here on the left change the description, but that's really the only thing in this central column here under information that the faculty member is allowed to change. Now, let's just go through this course here since I'm logged in as Professor Horowitz. Let's go through this and just go step by step through each one of these sections, and we'll talk about what each one of these sections do. All right, the first thing that you see when you go to one of your classes is you're going to see a dashboard, and the dashboard is going to tell you what's happening right now. So for example, if there are assignments that need graded, discussions that have been started, those will all show up here under alerts. So you'll be able to go directly to one of these things and then be able to work with the students. And I can go scroll. Now this is kind of messy. Obviously, Professor Horowitz hasn't done a lot of his homework here in terms of grading stuff, but he can go directly into these different pieces and just click on them and go straight to a discussion, straight to attendance, and so on. The other things that are here are you can see what's coming up in the next 7 days. Any discussions that you've started that might be active. So there's been one comment here in this BART Neo-Orthodoxy. There's 5 unread comments. So I go down and see the unread comments here and so on. But again, from the dashboard, your dashboard is just directing you to, hey, here's what's happening right now. Here's what's grading that needs to be done and so on. And then also across the top, this is very important. you have this ability to not just email everybody in your course, but you can also go in and you can text all these people as well. So, you can go in and communicate with everybody really quickly. Not only can you communicate with these people really quickly, you can do it with all of the sections. So if you're teaching multiple sections of this course, you can come in and do this with all of the different sections of the course. All right, now let's move on. Let's go. One more thing. Also, if you've been teaching this course over different semesters, you can see different semesters where this might be in place. If you're teaching in 2 different terms at the same time, because you've got non-standard terms, and they're overlapping, you could be moving back and forth between those. You could also be moving back and forth between sections. And the sections could even have different names, potentially. So that's another piece to be aware of when you're looking at the dashboard. Now, info. Let's talk about info. The info section is really, it's kind of your syllabus. We've talked about this already, since this is where we land when we first got here. You got your meeting times, you got your supplies, you got a description of the course. There's really kind of just a little tip here, kind of a popular use tip. There's a place here where you can put files under the info tab, but you don't want to put files that are specific to material you're teaching. This is more of just general files like a syllabus or a classroom procedures or rules kind of a file. You might want to put those there. Now your syllabus could fit here perfectly. Students could go to the info, they could pull up this syllabus, they could download the syllabus and use that, have it for themselves. Or you can take that syllabus, you can go over to the lessons, and this is what some faculty members do. They create a lesson for the syllabus. And so they go ahead and place that syllabus right in here, and then they require the students to have read it or to have seen it or something like that. So that's an option there as well. So just following a little rabbit trail from the info section over to where you might put a syllabus into lessons. Now, let's talk about these next, let's see, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sections kind of together. I will be somewhat lumping assignments, rubrics, lessons, discussions, and tests together because these are your core pieces as you go about teaching your students and disseminating your material and just going about teaching the class. You're going to be using these 5 sections centrally. Now, in these 5 sections, we'll even narrow our focus to lessons and assignments in particular. Now, before you can set up lessons, before you can add a discussion or a test, the first thing you have to do is you have to go into assignments and you need to add assignment groups and assignments themselves. Now, you don't have to add an assignment group. Your assignment group could all be 100% other. But if you're like me as a teacher and like many other teachers, you want to break up your course material and grading into chunks. This is where you go to do that. So I have a chunk of grading that's worth 30% that I call daily work. So every day in class, like if you're teaching a French class or a Chinese class or some sort of a language class, you might be saying, okay, every day you need to go to the language lab and you need to listen to Chinese for 10 minutes and then speak with a Chinese speaker for 5 minutes and so on. And so that would be 30% of their grade is getting that done. And then maybe 25% is, them writing essays, 45% might be tests, and you can break this up however you want. So I can come in here and I can click on edit and I could change this around and I could say that we want to make this 55% and we want to make this 30%. Okay, and then we come in and we change that and we save it. And then, I'm really focusing in on the daily work, for example, or whatever it might be. So let me see. Oops, that's got to be 20, I think. So let me save this. All right, so now we have the ability to change some of these things around with the assignment groups. Next thing, once you have your assignment groups in place, and it's important to have those in place first, because when you add an assignment now, an individual assignment, that will then Populi will ask you to place this into one of these groups. So we might have a daily work, and so we have a lesson 12 daily work readings. Okay, and then readings on de Tocqueville. If I can't even spell it right. I think there was a C in there. Yep, there we go. and it's worth 20 points, and it's going to be, tests, or it's going to be my daily work actually, and it's going to be maybe a file they need to download and read. It could be any one of these types. Now, this is important to note. We have these 9 different types that you can use. Really, it's eight types that you can use of assignments to give to the students for them to work on. So we've got file, grade only, peer review, test, attendance, discussion, essay, peer review. Now, a lot of professors will only use the attendance one once. So they will make sure that the students are attending the courses, and then they will use that just one time. Now, it's important to start building out your assignments, because first, do your assignment groups, do your assignments, because the next thing that you'll do is you'll go into lessons, which is 2 below, so we're skipping over rubrics. You'll go into lessons and you will start adding these rubrics into lessons. So if we come in here and we say, okay, we want to add a new lesson. So I'm going to go down and say week 16 is our last lesson that we can see here. So let's say that we're going to add, week 17 lesson. Okay, week 17, daily, or just call it week 17. And it's going to be available on the course open to date, or after the previous lesson is completed. You have several different ways to gate this lesson. So you can come in here and decide, well, I'm going to go ahead and make sure that they can only do this after the previous lesson is done. It's up to you. But I add week 17, I scroll down, there it is. Now, once I add that lesson, my next step is to click on design. And then once I've clicked on design, I now need to add a section. And I can add headings, I can add a content page, I can add assignments, discussions, files, links. I won't get into Tin Can because that's a connection to another software. But the reason you add assignments first is because now you can take these assignments that you've added and you can plug them into these lessons. So I can grab any one of these assignments and I can start plugging those into a lesson within the class. A couple other things to note here. Content is a great way to place videos, to place other media. So maybe I want to come in and upload a file, or I want to add some source code, or I want to embed a video, or just grab a YouTube link. So I can go in here, and in fact, there's this one I was going to watch. It's on the Robert Mueller interviews in Congress today. And so I can come here and just place this here by grabbing the URL, save it, and now I have a video that I've just placed about Jim Jordan going off on Robert Mueller. If you're watching any of that circus today at the Capitol. But you're able to go in and just click on design. I clicked on content, and all I did was copy and paste that URL. If it's already on my computer, I can just click on upload image. I could get the embed code and just place it here as well. You don't need to know any coding. You don't have to know anything about computers other than being able to navigate a website, really, to be able to design and add things here. Now, so there's the connection between lessons and assignments. I want to make a note about discussions. When you add a discussion, okay, and so this will take us to the discussion page. I can have a number of options here, require students to participate and that sort of thing. When I add my discussion to a class, one of the things that I can do, and this is a very helpful setting that I want to make you aware of, and that's this post first setting. The post first setting is going to allow you to make it so that a student cannot see other people's comments on this topic until they've made their own comment. Having been a teacher myself, I really like this setting because so many times in a discussion, people don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to step on people's toes, and so they try to be really nice, and they don't really want to say what they're thinking. in this case, they're not going to be able to see other people's comments until they make a comment. So you really get some original replies here, and it really kind of stirs the pot, so to speak. So the post first piece is definitely very helpful. There's also rubrics that you can use in the discussions. So when you create discussions and it's a graded discussion, one of the things you can do is you can edit the requirements, and you can make it so that students have to do certain things to get a certain grade. Like you have to have this many comments on your post. You have to have this many replies. Your total number of words has to be this many, or whatever it might be. So you can come in and make sure that the students are actually having to do certain things in the discussions, and then you don't have to go in and do all this grading yourself. Populi can grade this for you based on these criteria that you see here. So you can create these criteria, and then students go in and take part in the discussions, and then Populi grades it based on the criteria that you've placed here in the requirements. Now, since I mentioned the rubrics of maybe the graded discussions or the requirements, let's go over there and let's talk about rubrics. Now, if you have a rubric that you want to use, it's as simple as clicking on Add a Rubric, create a new rubric, and then give it a name and a description, and then you'll have a rubric in here. If your administration already has a rubric available, they may have a global one they've created in the academic settings. So you might check with your administration, see if they have a global rubric available in the academic settings. You could come in here and then grab these rubrics. So let's just grab one of them. And I'm going to save that. And then I'd have this written communications rubric that I can then apply to any assignment. So I could then place this rubric in an assignment and use it with those particular assignments. So I go back to my rubrics. I can see the written communication rubric right here. I could add that to an assignment if I wanted to. So I can come in here and place this with I'm sorry, not with that one, but I can come in and I can add this to those. Come here to the info section, click on edit. Then I go to my rubrics, which I don't think it's available for this because it's a test. But you can see that the rubric is an option there. And so for a writing assignment, I think let's go find a different one here. Let's go essay. What is Advent? And so I come in here and I find a rubric, and I'm able to apply the rubric in here. So I can grab that rubric and say, okay, written communication rubric, save that, and then that's going to be a rubric that's used to help grade this. So the connection between the rubrics and the assignments is you're creating these rubrics, and then you're taking these rubrics and you're then connecting them to assignments that the assignments you want to attach them to. So I would go back to a writing assignment or some other assignment, and I don't know how many writing assignments I have in here, but I would go in here and I would then click on the name of the assignment, click edit, and then I can place the rubric there as part of that particular assignment. All right, let's keep going here. So discussions, we talked about discussions already. Now this is where you can either add course discussions here, or you can just go straight into lessons, grab one of your lessons, click on design, scroll to the bottom, and then click on discussions and add your discussion right there too. All right, just right there, there's where I can click on and add a discussion. Let's go back up, going through these tests. Now, tests are also created in the assignment section. So when I want to create a brand new test, I don't go to the test tab here or section. I go back to assignments. I click on add an assignment. I go down to the type and I say this is going to be a test. And then I would add the test here as an assignment. And then you have different pieces that will pop up here for the test. So as opposed to say a file, there's going to be different things that pop up depending on the type of assignment you're asking for. But with the tests, you're able to do some different things such as exceptions for certain students, make availability for certain students, and so on. But as I create these tests, they're also going to pop up here in the test section. And then in the test section itself, I can go into that test. I can work on the design. I need to move my mouse over each piece to see how I can add a question, add heading, add a text. When I add a new question, I have several different questions I can add. I can add 7 different types of questions Multiple choice, short answer, put in order, multiple answer, essay, true, false, matching. And then I can also go in and I can grab old questions. Now, this is an important piece to remember as you start working in Populi more and more. You can add groups of questions from a category. So when I add a brand new question, let's say I want to add a new question here to this test, and the question is going to be, who doesn't like chocolate? All right, and then me, you, and them. Okay, and you can decide who gets credit and so on. But this can fall into various categories. So you want to start tagging or categorizing your questions so that in the future, I'm going to know that in my history category, this is a question that could potentially be added. This will be worth 2 points, or sorry, all the points have been used for this test. But I'm going to go ahead and save that. Now I have a new question. It's part of this certain category. And then when I go to add maybe more questions, I can add a group of questions from a category. I pull up my history category. I have 8 questions available. Give it a number of points. I can pull out a certain number of questions, and it'll randomly pull out of that category. It'll randomly pull out of the category these different questions from that one. So I just got a question from Della. So we will not be using the LMS portion of Populi. Will this be the majority of this session? Yep, Della. So all we're pretty much talking about is the online learning here, the courses, the course section of Populi. So you might want to drop out, and you can go spend your time doing something else, because I'm going to keep going through this LMS portion of Populi. Let's keep going here. Now, that's the test section. The rest of this is pretty straightforward. Calendar, I can go into my calendar and find assignments that I've placed here. So quiz number 5. So for example, if I went back to my assignments, I added an assignment, I gave it a due date and a due time, then of course those things are going to show up on the calendar. One other little tip here with the calendars is when you add a new event, and so it'll look at his calendar and it'll tell me, yep, he's available. And I can schedule locations. So I can come in here and say, okay, the Ball Memorial Library, L2, that's available. I could look for resources and then see if those are available, and then schedule an event with students, with my class, and so on outside of what's regularly scheduled. The roster, again, pretty straightforward. Excuse me. This is going to have the ability for you to email everybody, text everybody. You can export a PDF with pictures. So I don't know if there's only one student on here with their picture, but you could come in here and print that up and see who all your students are, export it to an Excel file. And you can come in here and you can do a little bit with the students in terms of, you can mark them as incomplete, but that's it. That's all that a faculty member can do, is they can only mark them incomplete. And the other thing you can do here is you can leave notes. So you can come in here and leave notes about students, and it'll show up as a little black note right there. And the students don't see that. Now, if you click on a student's name here, what will happen is it will take you deeper into their academic history with this particular class. So I clicked on Joseph's name, and in regards to History 102, I've got a graph here. I've got a record of his assignment grades. I've got an attendance graph here as well. I can see when he was spending time online, different places there, so I can actually see online attendance as well. I can see how much time he's spending in different lessons online, 2 hours and 9 minutes on period 1, week 1. I can see how he's doing in discussions. And so if you're in the roster and you want to dig more deeply into a student's profile as to how they're doing in your particular class, then you want to click on their name, and that's where you'll go. Now you can also go over here and then flag the student or email them. If you want to flag them, you can give them a red flag for advising or yellow flag for advising, and assign it to one of their advisors. So you can let them know that, hey, so-and-so is not doing well. Gradebook. Let's talk about Gradebook. Now there's 2 different places, well, 3. different places to grade in Populi. The easiest place to see is just the grade book. So I go in here and I say, okay, I want to edit my grades, and then I start giving the students grades. Now, if you are an Excel junkie, you love using Excel, you can grade with Excel, and then you can import it back into Populi via CSV file. So you can grade outside of Populi using an Excel file or using Excel. Now, you can also go directly to assignments and grade them there. So for example, I go into, let me find this one here. I click on the midterm paper and I click enter grades. Now that is going to allow me to give an ending grade. You can also grade the assignment and annotate the assignment itself by going to the actual assignment that was sent to you. So for example, Floyd Farmer and Joseph Olson have turned in their assignment. I click on their name and it gives me back the actual assignment. I can annotate this, make comments on it. I can make it so that the student can see these comments, or I can make it so it's an internal comment. So I can do one or the other. I can add general comments here. If I click on enter grades, then I can enter a comment about the grade itself and not just the assignment. So I have this ability to come in and grade this both in terms of just giving it a numerical ending grade, but I can also come in and make comments about the assignment itself, make annotations, and so on. Now, going on here, attendance, you can take attendance in Populi right here. You simply click on the purple box, give people present, absent, tardy, excused. We also have an iPhone and an Android app, and you can use those two apps to take attendance. The mobile apps also have radar attendance or Bluetooth attendance. If a student has their app up and running in the background on their phone, and you have the app up and running on your phone, Populi will automatically take attendance based on location. So if they're within 30 feet of your phone, you can actually have the attendance automatically be taken because of that proximity. All right, reporting. Now, the reporting is similar to what you saw in the roster when you click on a student's name. So when you click on a student's name, you get back graphical information about how they're doing in the course. When I click on reporting, I'm going to get the same thing here, where I can see, what assignments students have been working on, how they're doing overall. If I wanted to focus in on a particular student, I would simply grab the pull-down menu here, apply this to a particular student, and then I can see how they're doing overall I can see how Joseph is doing overall on assignments and their grades and discussions and so on. And then I can also go in and go to time track. Here we go. Come on now. All of a sudden decide to move slow. So I can see the what Joseph has been doing, how he's been doing, or other students, and see where they're spending time and so on. If there's evaluations that are able to be seen, those will show up eventually. And then we have a change log here. You can see who's been making what changes and when. So if I went back in time, maybe I'm team teaching the course with somebody else, I could see that Nick changed this as of a certain date, and different people making changes and what changes they made and so on. There is a live chat that you can set up, so you can schedule live chat times here. And then you can also come in and set up settings to use external LTI tools. That's more on the administrative side. The one thing that's not showing here on the demo site is course conferencing. If your school has a connection with Big Blue Button, you can do online, live, like what we're doing right now, kind of a webinar style meeting via conferences. Conferences would show up right here. If you go into the Populi knowledge base and you type in conferences, those will be here as well. So you can come in and read more about that. But you can record those. You could be doing live meetings with your students online, much like we're meeting right now. Now, I just got a question here, again, from Della about courses and financial. Says the students prepay their tuition before registration. Is there a way to receive payments in Populi before a student registers for a course? Yes, so you could set it up so that you add that as a charge and not as a tuition. You could have a tuition charge. And so that would be different than a tuition schedule. You'd have a fee that would be a tuition charge. So you'd want to go, and this is kind of off the topic, but you can go into the financial section of Populi, and I'm logged in as Professor Horowitz. You can't see it here, but you go to financial, billing, settings, and then add a fee that is a tuition fee, and then they'd be able to prepay before any kind of registration. So that would be one way that you do that. For other, if you have more questions about that, contact our support guys, 877-476-7854, or email by clicking help, open a support request. All right, let's keep going here. Let's see, I think we're pretty much done here with going through History 102. Want to answer any questions you might have at this point. I'll wait here a little bit just to see if anybody else has any other questions. Go ahead and hit the Q&A and I'll answer there. And I'll be silent for just a little bit if you think of any questions. Well, thanks for your time, everybody. We will be doing this again in the future. Stand by for more details by looking at support. So when you go into and click on help, and then you click on search the knowledge base, what will come up is this homepage for the knowledge base, and you'll see these live trainings that will be happening. We've done two the last 2 days, and we'll be doing more trainings in the future. So if you want to spread the word to other people at your schools that Populi is doing live trainings, and we are recording these as well, feel free to let them know. More of these will be showing up in the future. Thanks for your time, everybody. Appreciate it. Oh, Don has a question here. Do we have content already populated in Populi, and can we make requests to add resources? I don't know what your school has in there. I'm not sure which school you're with. They may have some content in there already, but you can go ahead and you can ask your school. If they don't already have it, it's very easy to copy it and paste it in, or to upload it into Populi. So you can add a wiki in there to like a lesson if you wanted to. We don't add the resources ourselves. That's up to you. So you go into the course, for example. Let me go back into a course here. And I go into my lessons, and maybe I'm going to add something new. I go to my, so let's just say period 1, week 1. I click on design, and then in design, I scroll to the bottom, and maybe I want to add a wiki in the content section. I can just copy and paste that in here, okay? Or I could add it as a link. Maybe I have a wiki link I want to use, and I'm going to add it right there. So I can come in here and I can grab, let me just grab a Wikipedia article here. And I wonder what's going on in Wikipedia today. Let's just grab one of the ones that are right on the front end here. Okay, Office of the Inspector General of the United States Army. All right, so I'm just going to grab the link, and I click on cancel to get rid of that. Click on link, and then Office of the Inspector General wiki page, or whatever it might be. And then I add that there. I can require students to click on that. I can show advanced options connected to an LTI, and then I save that. And then I've got a new link in here. I can see what it looks like by scrolling to the bottom. And then there's a link there that I could use as well. Okay, other questions? Let's see here. Oh, a couple questions. Yes, you have that option to grade as well. So are you talking about, if you're talking about grading in the lessons, the lesson itself is just presenting information. What you want to do in the lessons, if you want to grade something that's content-based, you're going to have to add an assignment. So I would go in here and I scroll to the bottom, I would add an assignment, and then it'll be graded right here in the lessons. So you do have an option to grade. You can grade really anything, but it needs to be added as an assignment, and then you can grade that. Now, if it's just a wiki sitting here like this, then you can't really grade that. That's just going to be there as a link that they can use, because again, I just put that in there as a link. If it's an actual assignment, it'll show up with this pencil icon here, and then I would click on that, and then you can enter grades right there. So if I wanted to make that an assignment, I'd have to change some things around about that particular wiki link that I placed. Yep, so you could add the wiki, then add an assignment after that with questions that are part of that. Yeah, that's an excellent example. Thanks, Dawn. Okay, so I did get a chat from Della. Said she watched the recorded session as preparation for this training. Suggests that this be labeled something more specific, like intro to courses for instructors / LMS users. The recorded session was very helpful to me and got me to the next level of learning regarding courses as an admin. Well, good. Thank you, Della. That's a good suggestion. We'll definitely use that. So we'll try to be more specific so that you're not confused about what we're presenting here. All right. Well, if there's no more questions, thanks for your time, everybody. If you have more questions, hit up our support team, call them, email them, use the support site. This will be available as a recording. We'll be making that available here in the future. You can also email me, nick@populi.co, if you have more questions that you want to ask me specifically. But again, a lot of those your questions can be answered directly in our support site. Thanks again for your time, and I hope everybody has a great day. Bye for now.